I'm going to call this Brewing and Breaking All the Rules. I haven't done it simply to be an outlaw, but I've done it just to reduce brewing to its lowest common denominator. Don't know about that word lowest. Uh, I just want to list some of the rules I've broken that I know of. What you see, the brew on the top, it's ale in the first place. I don't want to say brewing beer. It's clearly this is ale, because one of the rules I broke immediately was I haven't used any hops at all. And beer before there was hops was called ale. The brew on the top of the post is the one I'm drinking today. It's the oldest. I've used malt. I've begun to lose track. Some of those, at least the last 3 or 4, have been made with malt syrup, not dry malt. But anyway, back to the rules I've broken. I have sanitized nothing. I didn't even purposely use any detergent. All I did was rinse things out. So I sanitized nothing. I didn't use hops. The only heating that I did at any point was yesterday, I think it was, or the last 2 days. I heated the water up that I was mixing the malt syrup in to make it dissolve better, but I figured out that I don't actually have to do that. So the brew that I made just now is the one beside the one on the post, and I did that in cold water. You have to be a little bit more patient. You have to stir it more. It's easier by far to use dry malt, but kind of by accident I got syrup malt, liquid malt, and that was a surprise. And it's so sticky that it's a little hard to deal with. So what else have I done? I've exposed it to light, direct sunlight actually, for most of this, and on a very hot day. And that should mean that the beer has to be skunked, and I suppose it is. But at no point did I find the beer not drinkable. The first few brews were not good, admittedly so. I drank them too early, and that's a rule I would not break. I don't break now. I've learned that beer, which is obvious to most brewers, beer goes through a first fermentation, which is very fast. At the rate I'm doing it, 24 hours, and that first one's done. But it doesn't mean it's ready. It's got to go into that slow fermentation that goes for about 2 weeks minimum and can go much longer. But I broke that. Another thing, broke that rule to my regret. And then another thing, I made a mistake in my recipe. I was trying to brew small ale, purposely very weak for children and servants, because I thought I can start with that. But I have the recipe. I mean, it should have. That's what I'm brewing now, is really small ale. But I had half as much as it would take to do that, I think, and it tasted, of course, very watery and very thin. What else have I done? I have put no priming sugar in it, and I didn't seal the lids. I experimented with it, but I found it really didn't make much difference. So and of course I had to add cane sugar. Well, I used honey, but on one occasion I used a teaspoon of cane sugar to get, and it works. I mean, you can carbonate it that way, but I'm perfectly willing to drink my ale flat, warm, and without gruit in it. Before they had hops, they put gruit in it, which would, and that did involve some heating, so it would be flat, not carbonated, and raw. Now green would mean it's just just made. It's not aged at all. And I've drunk it that way too, but I think you want to go about 2 weeks normally. I used bread yeast at the start, and then I finally got brewer's yeast, which was an improvement. I mean, I knew bread yeast wasn't going to work well. And now I've ordered Kvike, or Kvik, I don't know how they pronounce it, which is a more appropriate yeast for what I'm doing. This is top fermenting. I did it while it was warm. I've probably broken other rules, but those are all I can think of at the moment. Here's my brew that I'm drinking now. That's about 2 weeks old, and I think I'm going to stick. I've ordered light Pilsner, I guess it's called, light malt instead of traditional dark malt. I think I like the dark malt better, I think. But while I'm experimenting, I don't want to, cover what I'm doing with the flavor of dark malt. That's just basically malt that's been roasted a little longer. And so the sugar has probably been caramelized a little bit more. And there's that dark taste to it, which I like. But it's easy enough to do. That's no problem at all. That's enough of my brewing breaking of rules, I think, for now. There's more, I'm sure.